Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to this Google Hangout on Air, CPR for the Drowning Teacher. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I want to share my screen quickly so you guys can go and see all the goodies that we have for you. Besides our presenters today, we want to encourage you to check out the presentation at bit.ly CPR on air. And we also have for you the hashtag, which is going to be Google CPR. And we want you to join in on the conversation because it's not just us talking to you, but we'd like you guys to talk amongst yourselves at today's meet / Google CPR. And as you can see on your screen, what we're talking about today is collaboration, passion, reinvention, CPR for the drowning teacher. Because we know that it's never been harder to be a teacher right now. But we also know that it's never been more important. And we're really excited to have assembled a fantastic cast for you. And we are going to kick it to the cast first now. We're going to go to Miss Sarah Thomas, who headed up this event and got us all together. So Sarah, hello to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your story.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Thomas, and I am a teacher from Prince George's County Public Schools in Maryland. And this is my 10th year in the classroom. And I am currently teaching 8th grade English language arts as well as grades 6 through 8 in technology. And I came through alternative certification. So my background was in radio, television, and film. And then from there, I just learned about an opportunity to get into teaching. So after a year in communications, and I made a transition into the classroom after a summer institute. So it's just really been a fantastic experience. I'm very happy getting to this point. However, along the road, there's always been it's not always been smooth, but it has ended up being a very, very positive experience, and I can't be happier. I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Fantastic. And next we have the wonderful Tara Linney. Tara, how are you? Tell us your story.
I'm great. Okay, so long story short, I've been in education. This is now my 5th year. My first year was in Philadelphia. Yay, Philly! I'm currently in a small town called Crest Hill, Illinois, and this summer I'll actually be transitioning to work at the Singapore American School over in Singapore, which is quite ironic because right before I got into education, I had actually applied to teach overseas, and now it's kind of coming full circle.
Wow, how long are you going to be there? Is that an extended stay?
At least 2 years for this stint, and then hopefully longer.
There you go. You heard it here first. Tara Linney is going international. And last but never least, we have Shauna Berry. How are you, Shauna? Tell us about yourself.
Hi, guys. My name, as he said, is Shauna Berry, and as you can see here on my lovely lower third, I have been teaching for 17 years. Don't I look young? And I am currently a 6th grade English language arts teacher at John Hanson French Immersion in the wonderful Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm also the instructional lead teacher, so I kind of manage a lot of different things. And I am so incredibly glad to be here today.
Outstanding. So let's get right into it. I taught English for 9 years, and 4 months ago I transitioned to my new job, coordinator, which is a fancy title for a guy who does a lot of things. And one of the things I do is roll out PARC for my entire district. And between PARC and SGOs and SLOs, it can be tough to be a teacher. So this is your chance, guys. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. We're going to vent. I want to know what sucks about education. Tara, get nasty with it.
All right, so what sucks about education is the rate at which we are required to test our students, and yet we don't get the feedback in real enough time to really make a difference. Like, I understand, yes, there's an end-of-year test. However, when there's an end-of-year test and it's not until the next year that we actually get the results, what good does that do for the teacher who had the student, and what good does that do if there's not enough time to process the data before the new school year begins? So I think the turnaround time with testing sucks. With technology, hopefully it's going to get better soon, but yeah.
And Shauna, what troubles you as a teacher? What makes you stay up at night and makes you frustrated?
Where should I begin? Okay, so first thing is working in isolation. As educators, I don't think that we have the opportunity to collaborate as much as we could. And one of the things that well, I'll say that for another slide, but yes, isolation is the first thing. Another thing that really sucks in education right now is time constraints. While we have so many things that we're supposed to teach with the new uh, Common Core curriculum, who has time to do that when you're worried about SLOs and God knows all of the other acronyms? So just basically having time and energy that I can dedicate specifically to teaching not having those things is something that really sucks right now in education.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Shauna and Tara were saying just now. Like, for me, the biggest problem is definitely time, and I feel that we are drowning in this alphabet soup with the SLOs and the PARCCs and everything, and it's nationwide. It's worldwide. You know, you have what's the name of that test? PISA, PISA. So you have all these acronyms that you have to keep track of, but at the same time, you know, things could be so much better if we just apply a little bit of C.P.R, which we're going to get to in just a second, standing for passion, or collaboration, passion, and reinvention. So for those of you tuning in at home, then make sure to join in the conversation with us. See you all on today's meet. So awesome, awesome.
I definitely agree with what you guys are saying, but I'm going to tell you this. That's it for the negative today. Now we're going to turn it around. We're going to talk about the positive. We're going to breathe a little C.P.R. back into some people's lives. So let me hit you with this question real quick. I want to know, ladies and gentlemen, of all the things you could have done in the world, you chose to be a teacher, right? The most important job in the world. We knew when we became teachers we weren't going to make a lot of money, right? But that's not what drives us. That's not what makes us passionate. What I want to know, coming back to you right away, Sarah, what is it that rocks about education? And I, again, encourage everybody to see the Today's Meet and the hashtag there. We want to hear your stories, the Q&A on air. We want this to be a conversation. So what do you think, Sarah? What's inspiring to you about education?
Well, I think in this day and age, this is one of the best times to be a teacher, despite all of the extra stuff we have to deal with. But for me, the biggest aha moment was becoming connected. When I became a connected educator, when I first signed up on Twitter, Voxer, Periscope, you know, there's all kinds of new ways to connect with different educators, and it's just been amazing to me. I would say that it's really taken me to the next level in terms of education. The very first thing that kind of made things better was just finding where I fit in, what my strengths are. But after that, connecting with educators worldwide that continually push my thinking, and it's just been an amazing experience.
And I'm going to double down on that, Sarah. That, to me, was one of the most important steps I ever made in my career, was getting connected as well. Shauna, you talked about being isolated, and I was a teacher who would go in during the day and close my door, and all I worried about was happening inside of my four walls. But when I started, you know, my website, when I started Twitter, when I started, you know, meeting and connecting, the world kind of opened up for me, and I definitely think that's something that's awesome about education, is meeting like-minded teachers. So Shauna, what about for you? What rocks about education?
I'm so glad you asked, because my last response actually is a good segue into the response for this particular question. I think the infusion of technology, when I think about the technology, what we called technology when I first began teaching, that was a visualizer. And if we were lucky if you had a computer in your classroom. So now to be in a building where not only do we have laptops, we have desktops, we have iPads, and the ability not only to connect with other educators has opened up tremendously, but now the students are able to connect with students in other places now. That is one of the most mind-blowingly awesome things to me.
I love that, Shauna. That's great. And as a fun little aside, I never learned how to keep a paper grade book as a teacher, and that's kind of, I never learned that in college. But Tyra, what about you? What rocks in education?
All right, so and this might sound a little cheesy, but I think that what rocks are the aha moments, the moments that you see happening in real time that, I mean, having worked in other fields, having worked in marketing and the nonprofit industry and things like that, it takes forever for someone to have an aha moment. In the classroom, you see this like every moment. Well, not every moment, but you see this way more often than you do in other career fields. And so I like that. I like seeing that from teachers when they're learning something new for the first time, like how to use a technology tool. I love seeing it from students when they stop you in the hall and you're wearing Google Glass and they're just like, whoa, what's that? Did it just talk to you? So I love the learning that happens because there's really no other organism like it.
Beautiful. So now I ask you this question, Sarah. We're going to jump back to you. So what's more important?
Absolutely. It's got to be what rocks about education. And I just wanted to say shout out to everybody who is doing the back channel, keeping an eye on that. And Linda, love your comment about the students are what rock the most. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Could not agree more. And really, that's what keeps me going in the morning, just getting out of bed, looking forward to connecting with my students, making that connection. Like, it's just the best thing in the world, and I can't imagine anything else.
What about you, Shauna? What's more important?
What's more important? Definitely the kids. Definitely, and making sure that they have those aha moments that Tara referenced. If they don't have those moments, what are we here for? That's my whole purpose in life, I think, to make sure that those kids have those moments.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think we all would agree that the kids are what's most important, but I know for me, one thing that frightens me is the burnout rate of teachers. I've seen some startling statistics that are saying most teachers will quit within 5 years, or there's a 50% attrition rate within 2 years of teachers. And so obviously we're there to teach those kids, but we need somebody to teach those kids. And so I think it's important too, as we move towards this standardized testing model, it looks like, and we have the Common Core, but now we have pushback with STEM, and people are throwing some art and STEM with STEAM, and it's really, I think, a big time in education for explorers, to be honest. And I hope, that we can continue to motivate and get our teachers just as excited as our students. But Tara, what do you think? What's more important?
The learning opportunities that are created. So, like, I don't want to say forget the standards, but if you focus more on the personalities and the abilities of our learners, I think that that's what has to come first, and I think that that's the most important thing, because when you're educating a child, when you're educating a person, you have to look at the whole person, whether it be like a young learner or whether it be an adult learner. So you have to know the environment that they're accustomed to and be able to adapt to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I'm keeping an eye here on today's meet and Twitter, we have a nice segue to our next question. Tara, we're going to come right back to you. And that is, life is sweet when you collaborate. And we've heard it a lot already in this conversation. As I keep an eye on today's meet, I see lots of people giving shout-outs to Voxer. And if you're not familiar with Voxer, it is an app for Android, an app for iPhone. If you can think like the old school Nextel walkie-talkie, where you hold the button, you give a message, and then you can get live answers back right from somebody anywhere in the world immediately. It's funny is the world has never been smaller. And so Tara, what I want to know from you, what do you do to collaborate? Where are you getting your best collaboration from?
All right, so to me, collaboration is like a cherry pie. Like, it's the last, well, actually, no, bad analogy. Hold on.
You're abandoning the cherry pie analogy so quickly?
No. Because I started to think of what my dentist would say, and my dentist would be like, no, no cherry pie. It's acidic, it's sweet. And, okay, anyhow. But I digress. Collaboration is really like what makes us the most empowered as educators. So if we're only limiting what we expose our students to based on like what we know, and we only know what we learned about in grad school or what we read about in a book, and we keep it to ourselves, we're not doing any type of justice for our students. But when we're out there and networking and collaborating with other groups of people, we're able to bring those perspectives into the learning environment, which makes our students more diversified citizens. They're able to see other perspectives. They're able to have empathy for others. They're able to relate to others. Just on Thursday, I believe it was, one of our 5th grade classes did a mystery Google Hangout with Tammy Neal's class in Florida. So we're in Illinois, they're in Florida, and the students were taking turns guessing where the other class was located. So I think that when a teacher collaborates, you choose your, I'm not going to use the wrong word again. So you choose your gateway, you choose your point of access. So if you like something that flows a little slower, then you can go with Google+. If you like something that goes fast, you can get onto a Twitter chat. On my 40-plus minute drive into work every day, I simply listen to Voxer, and it normally gets me all the way to work. And then I am able to give my input wherever it fits. So yeah, there's a lot of social media resources out there that are not all blocked within school districts that you can definitely use to collaborate.
Shauna, what about you? Where are you finding your best collaboration? Where are you spending your most time talking to teachers?
Actually, I am extremely new to the collaboration movement, and I will call it a movement. And I have Sarah Jane actually to thank for that. She hosted a Twitter happy hour for our staff, and we were happy. And she's also forced me, because we actually share a classroom, and so I'm in her classroom while she's teaching, and she's in my classroom while I'm teaching. So being able to see how she not only collaborates, because she's always boxing, and now I'm boxing, and she's always finding cool ways to make sure that the students are collaborating as well.
So let me ask you this then, Shauna, because you're new to the collaboration space. Give me your one best tip, or maybe your one biggest takeaway. You know, one thing that you thought was going to be like this, but it turned out to be something different. Give me your one thing for somebody who's watching right now and is kind of like, I want to know about the Twitter. The Twitter is scary. What are you going to say to them?
The Twitter is not scary. I would say just try one thing. Fine, if you're gonna tweet. If you're gonna box. But become connected in some kind of way, where even beyond just the people in your building or the people that you share a classroom with, because there are, we always say that 2 heads are better than one. Well, think about 2 million heads as opposed to 1. So just try one thing and let it become familiar, and then try something else, because there are people all over the place with wonderful things to share that we can all try in our classroom.
I love it. So I'm going to ask you, Sarah, same question, different angle, because everybody knows Sarah's got 3.5 million Twitter followers. She's got 14,000 Voxer groups. I'm fairly positive Sarah has created her own social network. What I want to know from you, Sarah, as connected as you are, how are you helping your kids connect, right? How are you helping them connect with other kids, with each other, at home, with you? Give me something special.
That is a fantastic question. This year I've tried to be more purposeful in getting my kids to connect outside the classroom. So the very first thing that we did is the kidblog.org has just been a huge resource, and just using that hashtag, comments for kids, and we were able to connect with a classroom in New Zealand and be blogging buddies, and just kind of have more and more blogging buddies added to our blog roll. So that's just been fantastic. The students have been working on Eportfolios, and most recently we did a collaboration project with the 10th grade class in Iowa. So it's really been fantastic. And I've learned so much from Shauna, as you know, she's like the guru for ELA. So I've learned so much from her. Piggybacking off what she was saying, us sharing a room, the feeling has definitely been mutual. But one more thing I just want to throw out there about student collaboration in the back channel. Then 808 was talking about Google Classroom. So that's a really good tool as well. Just Google Classroom, Google Drive. It's just fantastic. So just trying to instill from the students that they can build their own learning networks as well. They don't have to wait to become an adult. They don't have to wait to be a teacher. They can start right now, and the earlier the better.
Oh, Sarah, I thought you were going to curse. I actually pulled a detention slip over.
Oh.
But you're lucky that you caught yourself. I don't want to have to write you up. But I also want to go to today's meet because I see something great. Somebody says, oh, you know, that's me. I'm scared of Twitter. And I wrote them back. I said, lurk. For those of you who are kind of new to social media, lurking is the idea that you kind of sign up and you don't say anything. You just kind of watch or, you know, read what's going on. You know, if you're not comfortable, don't think that you have to, you know, sign up or Vox or anything right away. Just get added to a group or follow a Twitter chat and just read until you feel comfortable and then kind of start from there. So if you are nervous, don't be. And somebody's asking, why is Twitter the best thing that ever happened to me? So like I was saying before, I kind of came to school and locked myself in my classroom and only worried about what was going on in my four walls because I always felt like the crazy teacher. To make a long story short, I kind of turned my class into a video game. I was doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people weren't. And so for me, it was hard to go to school every day and kind of, you know, people didn't understand what I was doing. So instead of trying to constantly get them to buy into what I was doing, this is teachers. My kids loved it. I kind of just locked my door. And when I met like-minded teachers and teachers who were as passionate as I was, you know, to me, passion breeds passion. And that's going to bring us right to our next question, because in the business, that's what we call a segue into this C.P.R. passion. Right? As you take a look at this question, and again, please make sure, I see today's meet is blowing up, the hashtag is getting crazy, right? Take your passion, make it happen. How has your passion influenced you as an educator? How has your passion breathed some life? Whoa, go back. How has passion breathed some life, Shauna, into what you're doing in the classroom? Right? What are you excited about? How are you sharing that excitement with your kids?
Wow, great question. I think that just being excited, period, about this time in education, when a lot of people are at a point where they're ready to give up, check out, or I look at it as an opportunity for me, number one, to learn something else because I'm a lifelong learner, as we're trying to teach our kids to be. So at this point, I think I am most excited about getting my kids involved in the collaboration process. We have a unit coming up on drama, and I'm thinking about some ways that I can make that a collaborative effort, maybe with some students that are not in our actual building. Ms. Thomas is kind of giving me some ideas to work with.
I love it. Sarah, how about you? How are you sharing that passion that you're so well known for with those kids?
Oh, well, the way I came to the classroom was with a background in television production. So there have been a lot of best practices that have kind of called to me. For example, flipped instruction, using that, and YouTube, Google Hangouts on Air. That just kind of allows me to bring that TV background into the classroom to share that with my students. And as Shauna was just talking about, then yeah, we're doing the drama unit as well, and the kids are really getting hype about you know, making their own plays and things of that nature. So so yeah, just pretty much bringing in whatever interest we might have in the outside world into our class and sharing that with our students helps us to connect with them on a deeper level.
I like that. And I know for me, you know, I just want my kids to be passionate about something. I don't care what they're passionate about. Just be, and I would tell them all the time, just be passionate about something. And I would even work into whatever lesson. I would try to make my kids mad. You know, when we were doing Christopher Columbus, And you know, I used the book Lies My Teacher Told Me because I wanted to make them mad. I showed them a great documentary from HBO Sports that talked about, you know, life on the reservation and how this girl was able to get off her reservation to play basketball and what life was like on the reservation. And my kids got really angry that, you know, life for Native Americans on reservations was as bad as it was, and from that anger they got passionate about it, and some kids even continued on, you know, to explore that passion about helping others throughout the school year. And so, Tara, my question for you about passion is, you are about to leave the United States and head over to Singapore. I know it's an American school, so I'm assuming you're going to have a lot of English-speaking students, correct me if I'm wrong, but how are you going to share that passion as you hop on a plane and fly however many hours away?
So it's like 18 to 24 hours away. And to share that passion, so I've got a handful of things that I'm really passionate about. I love exploring new places. I love traveling. I just sold my car, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I just have like this thirst to see like new places. I went to the Grand Canyon one spring break. I went to Niagara Falls another spring break. So bringing those experiences and showing students that there's so much more than maybe what they're accustomed to seeing on a regular basis has been great. Also, getting students, piquing students' interests in the field of coding. So we need like more people who know computer science, who know how to code and how to program and things like that. So tapping into those interests, but then also reaffirming for students that it's okay to fail. So not like, you know, failing a grade, but it's okay to fail in the sense that you make a mistake, you learn from it, you iterate, and then you try again. And I think that sometimes when we talk about passion, we talk about the good stuff, but sometimes when you're pursuing your passion, you don't get it right away, or some roadblock comes up and prevents you from getting there as quickly as you wanted to. So I think that when we are seeking our passions, that it's important to show students that it's okay if a bump comes up. You know, there are ways to get around it or to get over it.
And I think that's so important too, because that was the motivation when I turned my class into a video game, was that, you know, we're preaching about failure, 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 but you can only take the test once. And really, if you think about it, school's the only place where you can take a test once. The, you know, driver's license, bar exam, you could, you know, even the teaching text, the praxis, you can take that over and over again until you're happy with your grades. And so I think that getting comfortable with failure and that idea of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, to me, I think that maybe is the most important thing we could be doing right now, because when we have such an uncertain future, right, we don't know what the world's going to look like for our kids. In my opinion, the best thing we could do is teach them skills. And this idea to keep going forward and keep trying after a failure, that's an incredibly important skill. And I would also like to thank my new friends on Twitter who are saying that I should not feel bad for feeling like a crazy teacher. They said that I should wear it with honor, so I appreciate that. It's good, see? And that's what's great about being connected, is you realize that there's lots of crazy teachers, and some of them turn out to be your best friends. But as we move forward here, you know, you can hear my dogs trying to collaborate with us in the background. They're mad at each other because I won't let them on camera. But take a look, right? How can we make it fresh? How can we reinvent what we're doing? Right? We talked about collaboration. We talked about passion. What about this reinvention of our C.P.R? You know, what is it that we can do for our kids? What is it that we can do for our passion? What is it we can do for somebody who may need us? Because I guarantee you right now there's a teacher down the hall that needs you, that needs a little boost. So what can we do for our students, for our profession, for our fellow teachers to reignite that passion? Sarah, I'm going to kick it to you, and I'm going to let you answer that question any way that makes you feel good.
Okay, well, in terms of reinvention, then I heard someone talking a while ago about a 20-year teacher. You could teach the same way for 20 years, or you could teach 20 years differently, I believe was a metaphor, but I kind of messed that up right now. But anyway, the fact is that every year we need to constantly build and build on what we've been doing so that we can best meet the needs of our students. We need to be able to be flexible. We need to adapt. We need to challenge ourselves and model that lifelong learning. So one thing that has really, really helped with that, again, don't mean to beat a dead horse, but connecting has definitely helped me reinvent what I do. Building a PLN virtually and face-to-face, just kind of trying to immerse myself in the learning process. It's definitely necessary because we have to see exactly what our students need from us, and we need to be able to do that. So I think that one thing that we definitely need to keep in mind is that all three of these letters are connected. So we can find something new that we're passionate about and use that to reinvent our teaching. Like, for example, Chris, you gamified. I met Chris in June, I want to say, down in Atlanta for the Google Teacher Academy, and when he talked about gamification, I was already gamifying the year before, but the way that he did it just kind of brought a whole new dynamic to it, and I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, this has levels, this has item shops, this has squads, guilds. So definitely just continuing to build and grow from each other is the easiest way to reinvent ourselves.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Tara, what do you think? How can we reinvent kids, the profession, the classroom? Give me something good.
Okay, no more analogies. I think when it comes to reinvention, it's kind of breaking down everything that's broken and building it up again. I mean, there's only but so much that you can do to kind of like reiterate like a process or a standard. So sometimes you just kind of need to scrap the lesson plan that you were originally thinking was going to work. Stop right in the middle. Wait, yes.
You mean you can't plan out every minute of your entire classroom?
No, they didn't teach you that in Grad School 101?
Wait,
oh, wait, no, they did teach that.
Wait, do you mean that sometimes you dive deeper into a topic because your kids get excited and the lesson plan be damned?
Yes.
What? Girl, you cray. Go on with your bad self.
All right, so I've done that. I've done that before as a technology teacher, also as a tech coordinator, and currently as a technology coach. So especially when working with adult learners, like, you want to go down this gravy train, and well, sometimes you need to take a step back or a step over here, or detour over here, so that everybody can hop on the train and you're not leaving anybody behind. So if we look at teaching adult learners in that way, then we need to do the same type of justice for our students. I work with a 4th grade teacher who, should I say her name? No, I won't say her name. Okay, anyhow, just in case. So I work with a 4th grade teacher, and every time that I walk into her room, it just amazes me because she'll be teaching something about decimals, and then all of a sudden we'll be talking about like metric conversions, and we'll be using like real life examples. And Johnny over here will ask this like question totally out of left field, and instead of saying, oh no, we're going to cover that in like 3 months, no, we go ahead and address that curiosity and then link it back in to what the original lesson was. And I think that's what education should be. It should be a thing where we're allowing students to ask questions. We're not saying, hey, ask this question. We're saying, what questions do you have? We're creating a situation where students feel safe to ask a question without being looked at as though they don't know what they're doing.
I love that, and I might even take it one step further. I can't wait for a day when I'm not jealous of Finland's education system, because they've actually just gotten rid of subjects and they're now teaching topics. And so this idea of asking the question and then maybe taking it that next step further about how they're going to apply it and use it, and understanding, you know, as an English teacher, and Shauna, maybe you could back me up, nothing aggravates me more when somebody says, oh, I'm a math person, I don't do English, or oh, I'm an English person, I don't do math. Like, it's not physically possible to be good at both. It drives me nuts. And this idea, I think, of getting away from subjects and focusing more on topics and questions like Tara, you were alluding to, I think that's a big thing that we should be doing. And one day I'm not going to be jealous of Finland. I know it. But Shauna, I want to go to you. You said that you were kind of new to collaboration. You have fallen under the spell of Sarah Thomas and are following her. So my question about reinvention is, why, Shauna, did you choose to reinvent yourself, right? Teaching for 17 years. You could have easily gone to the filing cabinet, got the dittos, right? Put them on the kid's desk. Why reinvent?
I have never been that teacher who would hold stuff for a million years. I've never been that teacher. Just because I feel like if there's I can do something better each time I get ready to do it. But I choose to reinvent myself simply because you have to. It's the law of it's evolution. If you don't evolve, you die. And just think about how many people, how many educators we know who are doing just what Chris just said. They're taking out those same dittos from 1965, and maybe it was 73. I don't know, but they're pulling out those same ditto, and it's a ditto. It's not a worksheet from way back when, because it worked when they taught those kids, and they just absolutely refuse to move into this century. So I've never wanted to be that teacher. I didn't think it would be fair to me because it can be very frustrating, and I certainly know that it's not fair to the students who are in front of me every year, because these kids don't learn the way I learned years ago when I was in school. They don't learn the way the students I taught 10 years ago learn. So we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. We have to make sure that we surround ourselves with people of like minds who will help us to do that.
Beautiful. I like it. So as we start to get toward the end, we want to open up for Q&A here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on today's meet, or if you're on the on-air Q&A, drop a question, and we'd love to answer them for you. I see one great question, and I think this is a huge question that most of us have probably dealt with or are dealing with. How do you reinvent when others are resistant to change? Right? How do you reinvent when others are resistant to change? And I think one of the things, if I would have answered that question being about one thing that sucks about education, I want to say it drives me nuts, because on one hand I understand it, but the profession of education seems to be one of the only jobs where people who have absolutely no background in education are allowed to tell you what to do. And that has always caused me a lot of trepidation, because I know for me, the things I've done in my classroom work. And trying to convince somebody who, no matter what you say, is not going to believe you anyway, has always been difficult. So I'm going to throw that to Sarah. Sarah, how can you reinvent yourself when you are faced with resistance from others, administrators, parents, because honestly, I find kids are the most open to it. I never had a kid once tell me, well, I can't do that because I never got professional development on it. My kids have never said that. So Sarah, what do you think? How do we reinvent in a culture and a climate that may not be so open to something like that?
Well, I have to say that, first of all, I'm extremely lucky, because the school where we are, then we kind of have that space to try new things and see what works. But a lot of other people don't have that flexibility. So hopefully this doesn't get anybody in trouble, but a lot of times it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
That's my number one rule.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but when we're talking about other educators, like our colleagues, our peers, then a lot of times our results speak for themselves. When we are doing something that works, then it's always best to share, because as long as we all share, then we get different stories from everybody. We hear about what works, what doesn't work. We don't have to teach in isolation, as y'all were talking about at the beginning. So we don't have to teach in isolation. So once we share, then the idea is out there, and if people are interested, if they see this working for us, then a lot of times they'll come and ask us, okay, well, how can I implement this in my classroom? So yeah, because I feel that with getting other people to kind of jump on board, it has to be one of those things that they want to do, not something where you twist their arm. So definitely just letting the results speak for themselves a lot of time is the best way.
And hold on, I'm going to jump in there real quick, because I want to tell you a funny story. So we weren't allowed to use any devices in my school. And one thing I did is I made a concerted effort to have my students learn how to use their devices for learning. And I also showed their parents on back to school night and conferences. And I had all of my kids and parents who were willing show up to a board meeting. And they all just kind of got up there and started talking about, this is more than a cell phone. And, talked about why it was useful. And I never told anybody I was going to do that, but next thing you know, you had about 15 kids, 20 kids parading up there talking about why cell phones were important. And, it kind of planted the seeds. So one thing I would tell you is, Sarah, I think you're right with sharing, but I also think something else to add too is recruit. Your biggest advocates are going to be your students and their parents. And if you can get them to buy in what you're doing, you can turn around and sell that to administration. And Tara, you had something awesome to say. I did not mean to interrupt you, but you know how I get when I get excited.
I totally understand. One thing that I wanted to add to kind of piggyback off of what Sarah was saying is that so a lot of our evaluation systems have been changing lately, and I would say raise your hand if you're using Danielson, but it's hard to raise a hand virtually. Anyhow, on Danielson's rubric, which was never really meant to be an evaluation tool to begin with, Domain 4 is all about like professionalism and that collaboration and those relationships. And so when you're talking to other colleagues or to even administrators about collaborating and creating these experiences where you're growing as a professional, it's definitely important to also take a look at what you're being evaluated on and use that like to benefit you instead of thinking of it as something that's going against you. Does that make sense?
Oh, I got you. I like it. Shauna, what do you think?
Oh no, I absolutely agree. And I mean, it's kind of like, how do I say this? Working smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of the collaboration aspect, think of it this way. If you're working on a grade level, so especially in our elementary schools, and you see that one of the teachers on your team is doing something really cool in science, and they're creating this Google form to ask questions about rocks and minerals and things like that, instead of you going out and making your own because this one teacher made their own, why not just ask them to do file, make a copy, and now you have your version of it. So it creates way less work, makes everything way easier, and you're collaborating, you're learning, you're growing, and you're showing students that it's okay to do that.
Ooh, modeling, I like it. Sarah, we got a question here in the Q&A. What do you use for your Eportfolios?
Oh, for the Eportfolios, and we went with Google Sites just because, well, first of all, I have to give a shout out to Chris for that suggestion. Google Sites is a great tool for ePortfolio creation. The fact that it integrates seamlessly with the Google Drive, and you can just kind of, put Google Docs like on the website just like that, like press a button and bing, and there it is. And also I like the fact that the students could set whatever privacy level they were comfortable with. So if they wanted to leave it on private, then they could set it to private, just share it with me, and I could see it. But if they wanted to actually put it out to the world, then they have that option as well.
I love it. Voice and choice, Sarah, so important. And if you are going to use Google Sites for ePortfolios, check out Site Maestro by Andrew Stillman, which is a script that'll set it all up for you. It's a beautiful thing. We have another question here. Looks like from Kelly Parker. I'm sorry, no, from Shane, no, maybe Kelly Parker. I don't know. I don't know how to read the Q&A. Anyway, somebody is asking, do you guys allow kids to teach teachers or flip professional development? I'll answer that real quick. I pitched that to my old school district, and they said that a teacher would never learn from a student, and it broke my heart on the inside to like 1,000. Yeah, it was rough. I was not happy with that answer. But I've seen some great examples of Geek Squad, tech teams, kids going around and helping teachers, teaching teachers. I'm all about it. I had a kid, I'm rolling out, in my district, my new district, we're rolling out a year-long Minecraft class, and I have no idea how to play Minecraft, so I went and got a 4th grader to teach me in 20 minutes how to play Minecraft. So learning from anybody, I think, is amazing. Shauna, how about you? What do you think? Do you guys have any of that? Well, I know you teach with Sarah, so maybe you guys can team up and answer that question.
I was actually going to say this is right up Sarah's alley. We just had an ed camp last weekend at school, and we had students presenting. and it was the coolest thing. So we just have to be open to learning from the kids because they absolutely have something to teach us, especially those of us who are not as tech savvy as we would like to be.
Absolutely. They've done a fantastic job. There's some schools around the country, such as Jen Sheffer's, Carrie Gallagher's. They do the student tech teams. We have a little mini version called the Repair Squad, and they go and they help teachers out. So I definitely believe that that students have a lot to share with us, as y'all were saying. So absolutely.
Or how about you? Have any success with having students help teach the teachers?
Not yet. So we have neither one of the last couple of schools that I worked at have really gotten on board with that. But I have noticed in some classrooms that the teacher, like if it's a new technology tool or something, that the teacher will rely on the students to be the ones to teach the class about it. Or if it's like a math concept that the class isn't getting and the teacher keeps teaching it, she's like, hey, can you take over? Can you show how you know this and explain it? Because that does two things for the students. That empowers the students, and it also hits on Common Core standards for speaking and listening, because now they have to speak to an audience and explain a process that they're extremely familiar with, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as I look down at my clock, it appears to be that time, ladies. I'd like to thank all of you for sharing. Tara, 5:40. Yep, Sarah, Shauna, everybody. I'm going to very quickly drop up our contact information because we don't want this conversation to stop ever. You know, collaboration, passion, and reinvention is what it's all about. So if you would like to continue that conversation, we will hang out into the today's meet for a little bit. You can keep using that hashtag. Sarah's probably going to turn this into a weekly Twitter chat, I bet. Sarah just said, good idea to me. There you go. I like it. But there we are. Contact us. Sarah, Shauna, Tara, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll see everybody at ISTE. Maybe we'll have a Google C.P.R. ISTE hangout or something awesome.
At the First Aid Center.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody for watching. And again, please keep that conversation going. Somebody out there needs you, whether it's a kid or a teacher. Go save somebody's life with a little Google C.P.R.